Good morning, all of you. We'll be starting with the next topic of Unit 1, that is algorithm. In today's class, we'll be understanding what is the need of the algorithm, how we can write an algorithm with the help of some examples. But before starting with let's start it in an elaborated way. To write a correct program, a programmer must write each and every instruction in a correct sequence. The order of the sequence that we are using is very, very important. This sequence is known as the logic of a program. It can be a complex or it can be a simple program. Therefore, we need to plan a program before we need to plan how to write a program before the proper program is written. We need to first find out the problem. So problem definition is the first step and the most important step. And then finding out the solution in the correct sequence is the next most important step. This is what is the purpose of a programming is. Now let's first understand what algorithm is. An algorithm refers to the logic of a program. That's mainly a step-by-step description of how we can reach the solution of a given problem. In order to qualify as an algorithm, a sequence of instruction must have following characteristics. So every algorithm that we have must have all these things that just now I am going to explain. All these things are needed for an algorithm to be an algorithm of a good quality. Every instruction that we are writing needs to be precise and unambiguous. Unambiguous means that every instruction needs to have only one solution. We cannot have more than one ways of doing it. Also, each instruction should be such that it can be performed in finite time. It's very, very important. Please understand the purpose of a computer system is to take an input, process it and give you an output, right? So whatever instructions that we are giving needs to happen. All this process needs to happen in a finite period of time. If it is not happening in a finite period of time, then these instructions will be of no use at all. So an algorithm must have an input, must have an output, must have some set of instructions that need to be completed in finite time. Okay, so none of the instruction needs to be repeated infinitely. We must ensure that, and always after performing the instructions, that is after the algorithm terminates, the desired result must be obtained. If we are not getting a proper output, then the algorithm is of no use at all. So every algorithm must have input, output, set of instructions that are finite. These are the three most important things that needs to be there in an algorithm. Now let's understand the algorithm. Let's understand how to write an algorithm with the help of some examples. So let's take up one example, that is swapping of two variables. So let's say we have two variables A and B. The question here says that let's say if A is equals to 10 and B is equals to 20, we need to swap it in such a way that we will get an output where now A will become 20 and B will become 10. That means we are interchanging the values of A and B. Every algorithm that we have must follow the following steps. When we say the following steps, please understand every algorithm needs to have first step as a start and last step as a stop. Because we are using two variables, we need to declare both these variables in our algorithm. So step 1 is declaration of the value of A and B. Once we have done that, now we need to read the value of A and B. Next is, let's take a temporary variable as C and assign a value of A to it. Why is the need of using a third variable, that's my temporary variable C? What is the need for that? Let us first understand this. If I'll assign A is equals to B directly, then the value 10 that we assigned to A earlier will be lost. If the value of A is lost, we will not be able to assign B 10. Why? Because now A has become 20. So, to save us from this problem, we need another variable, that is C. So, we need another variable, that is C. Now, when we assign the value of A to C, C now has a value 10 in it. So, C will have value 10. Now, in this case, C is equals to 10 is there. Now, we have stored value of A in some other variable, so we can directly write A is equals to B. Now, A will have value 20. Then we will assign B is equals to C. So, B now will have value. Earlier it was 10. Now we are changing it to, earlier it was 20, sorry. Now we are changing it to 10. So, now we can print A, we can print B, and then we will stop. So, this is an algorithm that we use to swap two variables. Start, declare the values of A and B, read those values, then use a temporary variable C, assign value of A to C, then assign value of B to A, and then assign value of C to B. Print both these values and stop. The most basic algorithm that we can have. So algorithm is basically the way you write your steps. Look, everything in our normal day life, real life, everything that we have is basically some set of instructions. So when I say set of instructions, what is that? When I say set of instructions, what is that? Please understand. Let's say you want to make a lemonade or you want to make a tea. If you are making a tea, you need to follow some steps. Put water in it, put all the masalas in it, then you will put sugar in it, you put it on the gas, boil it, then you put milk in it, and then you pour it in a cup. So there is a set of instructions. You cannot pour first in the cup and then make the tea, right? Similarly, when we talk about making a lemonade, you need to cut a lemon, squeeze it in a glass, put water in it, put salt and sugar to taste, and then you may drink it. You cannot first drink and then prepare a lemonade. So that is all some sequence of steps. So that's what we are doing over here. We start and we stop, and in between we follow some set of instructions. So this was the most basic algorithm for swapping any two variables in programming. Now let's take another algorithm. Now what we need to do is, we need to find sum of first 15 numbers. Now that means what we are doing in this case is, we are finding out sum of 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 till we reach 15. We are adding up in total 15 values. Now let's start it. Now let's see how we can do it. So that means we are adding up these values and we are storing it in a variable called sum. So I need one variable, that is sum, right? Now every time we are adding 1 to each value. So initially the value was 0, then it became 1, then it became 2. So every time I am adding 1 to it and then adding it to the sum. Now you can see over here, this is 0 and 1. So 0 plus 1 plus 2, 1, 1, 1 is being added. We are starting from 0. So the first variable that we are adding in the sum is, let's say I call it as I. The first variable is 0, so we need to initialize a 0. Initially the value of sum is 0 because there is nothing in the sum. So initially the value of the sum is 0. So let's take this example. We already know that the first and the last step are start and stop. And a logic come. Whatever we are writing in between start and stop is your logic. So we took one variable I, as you can see in step 2. We took one variable as I, and I is your 0. So I, the first value that we picked up was 0. Why? Because my value is starting from 0. If this would have been starting from 1, then we'll pick first value, that is our I, as 1. Then we initialize sum as 0. So we have initialized sum as 0 because anything added to 0 is the number itself. So it's a safer to initialize your sum as 0. Next, what we need to do is sum is equals to sum plus I. That's your step 4. So we are adding sum to it. So sum is equals to sum plus I. Currently my sum is also 0 and my I is also 0. So 0 plus 0 is equals to 0. So till now my sum is still 0. Now I need to move till the number becomes 15. So if I is equals to 15, obviously we need to stop. So what we are doing is we are checking the condition. If I is equals to 15, we need to stop. That means we need to go to step 6. We just simply need to print the sum and then stop. However, if my I is not 15, which is right now not 15, I need to move back to the previous step. So my I is not 15. What I need to do is I need to increment I. Initially I was 0. Now I will become 1. Now I need to go to step 4. When I move to step 4, what do we need to do? When I'm moving to step 4, now sum plus I. Initially sum was 0. So S is equals to 0 plus 1. It's still not 15. It will again go to the else part. If and else, any one condition will execute, whichever is true. So again I becomes I plus 1. So I was 1, now it is 1 plus 1 becomes 2. What was my sum? My sum was 1. My I value is 2 now. So when I'll go to step 4 again, so 1 plus 2 becomes 3. So your sum is 3. I value is 2. We'll keep on doing it till we reach 15. Once we reach 15, we'll print the sum and we'll stop. This is your next algorithm where we find the sum of numbers between 0 and 50. Let's pick up another algorithm for printing the factorial of a given number. We already know that if we want factorial of a given number, a factorial is basically starting from 1 multiplying till n. If I'm finding 3 factorial, so 3 factorial is 1 into 2 into 3. If I'm finding 5 factorial, it is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. So we need to multiply all the number that comes before the number for which we are finding factorial. Step 1 is start and last step is your stop. So in between we need to write other steps. First step is to enter n. That means we need to take number from the user. If we are taking number from the user, so let's say I have taken 3 from the user. That means we need to find out 3 factorial. Because it's a multiplication, I need to take this product where I am writing I can also write this I can also write this I as, you can call it as product here, right? So because we are multiplying a number, if any number multiplied with 1 is the same number itself, that's why we need to choose these values as 1. So let's say I'm finding 1, I is equals to 1 and x is equals to 1. So basically what we are doing is, let's say if we have entered 1, 3, we need to multiply 1 with 2 and then we need to multiply it with 3, right? So this needs to be multiplied with I plus 1. Every time again we are incrementing a number, but this time instead of finding a sum, we are finding a product. It's similar to the previous algorithm that we have done. The only difference is now we are taking a product, factorial. So we have initialized both the values as 1. Because if we will initialize it as 0, any number multiplied by 0 becomes 0. That will be of no use at all. So we need x and I as 1. Now we multiply x with I. So 1 into 1 is 1. So first number will always be 1. Now we need to check whether we have reached n or not. In this case n is 3. So we have right now 1 into 1. This is what we have done. If it is reached 3, we need to stop. That means we just need to print the factorial and stop. But if it has not reached 3, then what do we need to do? Initially the value of I was 1. Now I is 1 plus 1, that becomes 2, that you can see in this step. So 1 plus 1 becomes 2. So now we have a value called 2. So we go to again step 5. Multiply 2 by x. X was 1 right now. So 1 into 2 is 2. So this thing is over. The first number will always be 1. So 1 into 2 is 1. So this thing is over. Now again 2 plus 1 is 3. So here my value was 2. Now we'll multiply it by 3. So 3 2s are 6. So my factorial value will be 6. Now we have reached a topic. It will stop. This is what is your algorithm for finding factorial. Okay. So this is algorithm for calculating factorial of a given number. Number is inputted from the user. Now let's take an example. These were the examples. All the examples that I have taken just now are the examples that are basic examples. Now let's take another example. Now we'll be taking this example where it is a scenario based kind of thing. It's an explanation. So what is your question? There are 50 students in the class who appeared in their final examination. Their mark sheet have been given to you. The division column of the mark sheet contains division first, second, third or fail obtained by the student. We need to write an algorithm to calculate and print the total number of students who passed in first division. So I hope you have understood what we need to do. So there are 50 students in the class, right? Now we need to find out in which division, what is the division that they have got. Have they cleared in first division, or they have cleared in second or third, or they are failed. Okay, and we need to also calculate the total number of students who passed in their first division. So let's start. Step 1 is start, right? And last step is stop. I have not written the start, but that you may write it. Step 1 is start. Now what we need to do is initialize total first division and total mark sheet check to 0. So we are taking two variables. Look, in the earlier examples, if you'll see, I have used a variable and I have put equal to equal to. Now it is not necessary that you write always in this way. You may write the algorithm in a statement form also. So this is an algorithm in statement form. There are many ways of writing it. You must understand what are the different types. You may write it in this way also. So step 1, initialize total first division and total mark sheet check to 0. So there are two variables that we are taking. So you can say that this is same as, your total first division equal to 0 and total mark sheet checked is equals to 0. So it's exactly same. We have written it in a statement form, right? Take the mark sheet of the next student. So there are total 50 students. So we need to pick up all 50 students. Check the division column of the mark sheet to see if it is first division or not. If no, then go to step 5. So it's again see if division is equals to first. So we can write it like this step. If division is equals to first, then we'll go to step 5. Else, right? So if division is first, we'll go to step 5. So from here, we'll go to step 5. If division is first, why? Because we need to add. We need to find out the total, mark sheet checked and what is the total of the first division. Or else, add 1 to the total first division. Add 1 to the total mark sheet checked. Is total mark sheet checked is equals to 50? If it has become 50, then you go back to step 2. So you'll go back to step 2. You take the mark sheet of the next student. If it is not 50, if it becomes 50, then you need to print the total first division and stop. So you can write it in the form of statements and you can write it in the form of normal variables the way we have done earlier algorithms. Let's take the next example. There are 100 employees in an organization. The organization wants to distribute annual bonus to the employees based on their performance. The performance of the employees is recorded in their annual appraisal form. Every employee's appraisal form contains his or her basic salary and the grade for his or her performance during the year. The grade is of 3 categories. A, that's for outstanding. B, that's for good performance. And C, that is for average performance. If it has been decided that the bonus of the employee will be 100% of the basic salary for outstanding, 70% of the basic salary for good performance, and 40% of the basic salary for average performance, and 0 for all other cases. Now, we need to write an algorithm to calculate and print the total bonus amount to be distributed by the organization. So what we need to do is, we need to first check what is the performance of the employee as it has been categorized into 3 things, A, B and C. Then according to the category, we need to give the bonus to the employee and find what is the total bonus that the organization is distributing. So let's start. Step 1. Because we need to find out the total bonus and we also have total number of employees. So what we are doing is we are initializing both these variables as 0. We also initialize bonus and basic salary for every employee to 0. Now we'll take the appraisal form of the employee, read the employee's basic salary and the grade. These are the basic steps that we need to do. And then check for the grades. Now you can see here, step 5, if grade is equals to A, then bonus is equals to basic salary. Yes, bonus is 100%, so it is going to be basic salary. And we'll have to go to step 8 where we are adding the bonus to the total bonus, because we need to calculate how much bonus has been distributed by the company. If grade is equals to B, then bonus is equals to basic salary into 0.7. Why 0.7? Because the bonus, if you remember the question, was 70% for the basic salary in case of grade B. And in case there was grade C, then the bonus was only 40%. So again, in this case also we need to skip step 7 and we need to go to step 8. In 5 also, if grade was A, obviously it cannot be B and C. So we were supposed to skip B, 6 and 7 and we are supposed to go to directly step 8. Right? So we add bonus to the total bonus, add 1 to the total employee check. So we need to add 1 to the total employee check. Now we are saying total 100 employees are there. So we need to check whether it is less than 100 or not. If it is less than 100, obviously we need to go back to step 2 and do the process for the next employee. Then we need to print the total bonus and last step is stop. So once the total employees checked goes to 100, then we'll print the total bonus and we will stop. This is what your next algorithm is. So let's summarize it all. An algorithm is a step-by-step instruction of how to perform a particular task. Every algorithm needs to be finite, and every algorithm starts with the start statement and ends with the stop statement, and in between comes the logic of the algorithm. That's it for today. In case of any queries, you may contact at the information given on your screen. That's my email ID, right? Thank you so much.